Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Off the Record podcast. I am Taylor.
And I am Dan.
Indeed. Yes, welcome back. New microphones, new setup. This fucking spaceship. We're getting there. I have sound effects. That's dangerous. So if you hear random sounds, it's me fiddling with buttons.
Nice.
This one, especially for Dan.
I've forgotten the beep one.
That's the sensor beep. Yes.
Yeah, I need that.
But yeah, hello.
Yeah.
How are you?
All good. Yeah.
Good.
Loving life. Been busy. Been working. Been living. All of the above. Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, good weekend. We had our first sponsorship event for one of our businesses. So that was good, successful, good networking opportunities,
Yeah.
good connections that we've managed to acquire.
Indeed.
So yeah, all positive, mate. Can't really complain, can we?
It's a very good point. This is a business podcast.
It is a business podcast, yes.
And yeah, I had a good event at the Vapor Expo in Birmingham. Met up with some old associates, as it were, I suppose, old suppliers, people that we used to sell to. Had some good conversations, and had a very nice, fun evening out with the Zeus Juice gang and some of their manufacturers, Chinese people. Wonderful, nice weekend.
I suppose the question is, do Chinese people know how to party?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
and I was surprised at how much they loved beer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I know rice wine is massive out there. Haven't been there a few times. That seems to be the drink of choice generally.
Sake? Is that what it's called?
That's a Japanese beer.
Oh, is that Japanese?
Oh, sorry, sake is in the spirit. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that is Japanese, though, isn't it?
I'm thinking asahi, what a sausage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beer.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they had fun and they played darts.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We went to O'Neill's and we had some darts and the Chinese girls won. Yeah.
There you go.
Entertaining. There you go. But yeah, business wise,
I wasn't there, so
you wouldn't have wanted to be there, Tay.
no. I have far better things to be doing, like laying in bed.
Yeah. I'm spending half an hour feeding the homeless, but that was good fun.
Would you have, though?
I did.
Oh, you did?
I actually did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They ordered way too much food. Nobody ate it. And they were about to bin it. I just looked and went, "You're not binning that." What do you mean I'm not? You're not binning that. That's ridiculous. There's two guys outside that haven't got a home. And you think I'm going to let you throw that in the bin? What do you take me for? So yeah, I just got it all boxed up. They only had 2 boxes left. Had to go and buy 10 boxes from Dixieland because I had spent a £5 on 10 cardboard boxes. And then, yeah, put all the food in that, started handing it out to the homeless. That's what I do on business fucking events.
Okay.
try and solve the world's problems.
Fuck the networking, let's feed the homeless.
Literally, I was getting texts and calls. Dan, where are you? We're going to the next place. Dan, where are you? I'm like, that's not important.
I know exactly what he's doing. He's sat with a guy called Jeff. And
Nailed it.
he's explaining his life story.
So just listen. Yeah, just listen to him.
Well, if you're in the UK, if you've managed to avoid this news story, you've done well. Because this was everywhere for the last 3 days.
I missed it. Genuinely. First I heard of it was this morning, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you sending me that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've sent him the news stories this time, so he actually has a bit of context rather than me just going, "What's your thoughts on the meaning of life, Dan?" with no prior thought.
So yeah, hit us with it.
Yeah, so the headline is, "They yanked their own plug. How Co-op averted an even worse cyber attack." So, yeah, if you didn't know, the group, the Co-op group that owns Co-op and M&S in this country were hacked effectively, and ransomware was attempted to be put onto their system. Basically, that would shut down their system unless they paid an amount to take it off. And it caused fucking bedlam. I know a couple of people who work in the local co-op to me, and I was talking to one of them. They normally get 35 of those sort of wheeled cages worth of... This is only a small co-op, but 35 cages worth of products a day.
Wow.
That day that I went in, which was the first day this happened, they received 1/2 of one. because the entire computer system went down. Obviously, with that many shops, it's all automated, and they didn't know what to send. So the shelves are bare at the minute. If you go into a co-op, they haven't had a delivery for 3 or 4 days, considering they normally have one a day.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And yeah, it's sent the co-op group into complete bedlam. Effectively, it's yeah. But the reason I put this in there was, why would you choose the co-op?
It's a fucking good question.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've got the ability, unless their cybersecurity was especially lax, compared to others, surely there are some more lucrative businesses or people that you could target with an attack like this. Yeah. I mean, not that I condone the actions, but I mean, come on, man! Like, if you're going to do it properly.
And at least the co-op group actually, like, they look after their employees. They seem to be a relatively nice employer. Like, why would you? Yeah, that's the last of the high street supermarket brands that I'd think to go and get money out of.
I mean, M&S, I get it.
Yeah.
Because they're pompous.
Yeah.
But
you go for Waitrose.
Charging me £5.40 for a wrap, you robbing bastards.
Thank you.
They are good wraps, though.
They are the best.
I just don't get it. You think that they target, someone with a little bit.
Harrods.
Well, yeah.
Or you would have the biggest haul you could get.
Yeah,
I'm just.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Surely you'd go for like a bank or Farmer or something like that, but their cybersecurity is going to be unbelievable.
Yes.
Isn't it? So I suppose maybe it was just the
easy hit.
Yeah, the best of the bad bunch or however you could call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just made me laugh because I'm like, what? So you've targeted the local corner shop? Is effectively what you've done.
What was that old bloody shop? Was it Summerfields? Wasn't there? Do you remember that?
Co-op. Yeah, they bought co-op out.
It's like trying to attack them from they no longer exist.
Like Hot Fuzz, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I read the story this morning, I was thinking, number one, I didn't know it happened. But number two, isn't it mental as to how privileged we are that the biggest news story is that we can't access an abundance of food. And yet there's places where people don't have food. And you're thinking, that's our biggest problem. That someone got hacked.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, my gosh, mate, snap. Fucking hell.
I went in there the other day and I was actually angry that they didn't have Jacob's cream crackers.
Your life is way too easy.
Right, hear me out. So I really, really fancied like cream cheese and crackers because it's one of my like guilty pleasure foods. And I don't have it very often. So I went in there. I was really excited because it's one of my favourites. And there was no Jacob's cream crackers, and there was no water biscuits, which is the like number two behind. I don't know if you know what water biscuits are, but they're like even thinner crackers. Oh, okay. So they're not quite as good, but they're a good substitute if they're not there. Yeah. They didn't have either of those. Yeah. So the only thing they had were seeded oatmeal crisp breads or something they were called.
Sounds good.
They were quite tasty, actually. They were lightly salted.
Yeah.
They cost me £3.95. But the other issue was, obviously, with cream cheese... This is such a weird topic to be going... I'm going there. Cream cheese is obviously spreadable, so you spread it. I thought these were crackers sort of, like that. They were quite long, so I thought, maybe a couple of inches wide and maybe a little bit longer.
Stick thin.
Yes. They were that wide. They were less than an inch wide. So I'm having to sort of try and like that, and you just end up with two lines of overrun running down your hand every time. Fuming.
Oh yeah, that's the definition of first world problems. I don't think I've ever heard anything quite so definitively well put or well fitting for that phrase. Yeah, I like it. But back to the hacking.
Yeah.
Is this linked to the situation that happened with the grids in Spain, Portugal, France, Italy a couple of weeks back? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
All electronics shut down.
Oh, damn.
As in the whole of Spain. Not just co-op or like one, but the whole country gone. No internet service. My mum couldn't call me. There was, nothing. And it was massive news. I might have just heard of that because of my mum's situation, but I wondered if it was the same hackers, but you wouldn't know.
I wouldn't have thought so, because something like that would be centralised. You would be attacking the energy company or the government or something, wouldn't you, in order to do that? Whereas this was just an attempted ransomware attack on the co-op group. But yeah, I'm amazed it doesn't happen more. Do you know what I mean? Unless cybersecurity is a lot better than I tend to think it is. I'm amazed it doesn't happen more and more often, because have you ever seen that? He's appeared on a load of American podcasts, and he's an ethical hacker.
Yes. Yeah.
And he just shows, and he just pulls out some random little machine out of his pocket, and he's like, right, I've now got all your data. Look, sorry, you what?
Yeah.
And he's just got this little thing that looks like a USB stick, and he's like, well, I've just tapped a few buttons. Now I've created 18 fake Wi-Fi logins, and if you click on any of them, I can control your life.
Yeah.
Fucking right, step back a minute. What the fuck is this? And then he's pulling out charging leads and going, yeah, if you plug into this, I can basically shut down your house.
Yeah.
Like, right, hold on.
Yeah. Who's inventing this?
But this is what I mean. Like, I can understand to an extent for sort of espionage type things, government, intelligence.
Yeah.
If that's the case, if you could probably sneak a charger into someone's house without them really noticing.
The White House. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't mean anti-government espionage. I mean pro-government. But yes, I suppose it works both ways. But yeah, beyond that, the fact that it's available to the public, because he was like, yeah, you can buy them. They're like $80 or something for this charging lead. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, in what sort of circumstance would it require that to be legal to buy? Because surely the only thing that comes out of that is nefarious intent.
It's crime. Yeah. That's a weird one.
It is, isn't it?
Weird. I can't understand how that's available. Then again, the same thing goes for some of these bloody ridiculous blades and knives that you see on Amazon. You're like, how is that legal to be sold?
The worst thing about that is it's legal if it doesn't have any writing on it. Have you seen this law?
What?
So there's a weird legal loophole, which is, I saw it on, I think it was on This Morning or something like that, and this guy pulls out this like 18-inch like Bowie knife looking thing, and he goes, this is legal to own. It was on LBC. I remember it was on the radio because it was Nick Ferrari, and he goes, this is legal to own. If it had Zombie Hunter 3000 written on it, it's then illegal. But as long as it doesn't have that, this is legal to own. I'm like, sorry,
who's come up with that legislation?
Where's that law come from?
Yeah, where's your logic?
Yeah, like you can stab people as long as you're not LARPing at the same time.
That is absolute nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah.
I cannot see any rational reason for that legislation.
No. But I mean, I know people will always find ways around the law, but it's not exactly a hard way to find around the law, is it? Just make sure that it doesn't say "my name is Jeff" or something on the side of the knife, and you can stab whoever you want.
Basically, yeah, we don't mind you going out and stabbing, but just don't promote brands while you're at it. Yeah. Don't support branded marketing while you're stabbing somebody with a bloody 18-inch blade.
Is that a Supreme branded knife? Prison.
Oh, off-the-shelf white label? Don't worry about it. Yeah,
don't worry, mate. Take it on a plane for all I care.
It's fucking ridiculous. He's mad, isn't it? But the hacker world, I mean, I'm a technophobe kind of for my age, and to hear that what's plausible. I know it's all plausible. I know all my accounts could get nicked or just taken, but you can't be sat there worrying about the potential of something that is statistically very unlikely. But hearing things like that, everyone's probably shitting themselves.
I do find it fascinating how, because it is very interesting how people work out how to do all this. Do you know what I mean? How to get round things, and it is genuinely impressive. And it's something I'd not the hacking bit, but I would love to know how to do it. Do you know what I mean? Not because I want to fucking
go and do it, but just
overthrow the government or anything. It's just I think it would be quite interesting information. Do you know what I mean? Of knowing how it worked.
Yeah,
but
mad.
Yeah. I just thought, it was a weird choice of target.
Yeah, and it is going to, they said in the same article, it's basically crushed their share price.
Mm.
It's absolutely killed them. They're not dead or anything. They're still a multi-billion-pound business, but yeah, it's definitely had a big impact on shareholders, on the employees, probably.
It will, won't it?
If you lose 3 days worth of revenue as the co-op, because so much of their money is debt, you are talking about jeopardizing jobs.
Mm.
So that hacking, whoever did it, just thought as much as co-op's $1 billion company. I'm going to ruin the owner. You're not just ruining the owner. They employ tens of thousands of people. You're literally going to ruin their jobs and livelihood. But people don't care past their original objective. They don't think about the repercussions or the consequences. But
I mean, in my village, because I live in a very small village, working at the local co-op is like a rite of passage. It's like a birthright in there. Everyone who's grown up in that village, I would say 80% of them have worked in that co-op in some form or another. Yeah. It just seemed like everyone worked there at some point. I never did, because I'd rather gouge my own eyes out. But
20% either.
And if you can't keep my Jacob's crackers on the thing, what are you even good for?
Fucking crackers. Jesus.
Don't fucking at me, I will hurt you.
Yeah. Jesus. Article numero dos.
Now, this one's a little bit more political.
Ooh.
But it is still business related. So the UK to allow foreign stakes of 15% in newspapers. So foreign states will be allowed to own up to 15% of British newspapers and news magazines under new laws. The move follows a takeover bid of the Telegraph and the Spectator by Redbird IMI last year, backed by the Abu Dhabi ruling family, which is, funnily enough, the guy who owns Man City, Sheikh Mansour.
Yeah.
Which led the Tory government to ban foreign state ownership of UK papers after an outcry from parliamentarians, which leads on from the bid by the Abu Dhabi company. And yeah, I read this and I didn't really have a point, but it's more that it's a little bit scary. Not that I know that newspapers aren't particularly socially relevant anymore. Not many people, I would say, rely on newspapers for news anymore, because the access to information now is so easy that you can see sort of a very well-rounded view across the internet by just doing one Google search, effectively. But what I find slightly worrying is whether there is an ulterior motive to a lot of Middle Eastern countries taking interest in more Western, I should say. Well, not even that, just sort of social, life in general. Because you've seen a lot of Middle Eastern countries taking over football clubs. You've seen boxing, yeah, they've got a massive input in boxing now. And I understand that this is where the money is, that they are, per capita probably one of the richest countries on earth.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And they have the money to throw around. But what it makes me wonder is why are they wanting to buy stakes in UK newspapers other than to influence and propaganda? It's slightly worrying because I have seen there's a UK YouTuber called Thogden. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a twat, but he was quite big in the sort of UK football. He was one of those people that would go to a lot of matches, quite a passionate fan, would vlog the experience, and then has branched out to go into other matches and all this sort of stuff. And there was a video that came out. I don't know if it's still up. If it is, have a look at it, because it is the most obvious shilling you will ever see. And he was basically promoting the company or the movement of Visit Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And he basically did a YouTube ad about it. There was a video about it, and he did a video. It was so clearly a scripted and advertised video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was painful. But I'm like, what? Why are they pushing for it? Because it's not like they need the tourism money. They don't rely on tourism. So what is it that is driving them to spend inordinate amounts of money to sort of bring them more into the social norm of other Western countries? It's a bit of a weird.
I've got answers.
Go on.
Potential answers, anyway. At least, so not just during my lifetime, but probably 40 to 50 years prior, any sort of media news in the UK about the Middle East, and including obviously the whole situation from 2001 and then the Middle East War, it's all been very construed to basically portray the Middle East as this kind of antichrist, this massive evil power that we don't understand because there's a cultural difference. And you've got to bear in mind, if you're talking about countries and this level of wealth versus what us as individuals can comprehend, you don't create a 10-year plan as a country. You create a 100-year plan or a 200-year plan. So I think that the fact they've managed to accrue all this wealth through fossil fuels, that basically if that is depleting, if that is reducing, as you've got this huge hike and vast growth in the kind of renewable energy factors and for basically electric cars and all that kind of aspects of life now, that would write off the Middle East and specifically places like Saudi Arabia that are so heavily driven to the fossil fuel system, and that is what their economy is reliant on. Yes, they've got untold trillions, but if you stop producing the thing that gives you your GDP or your massive wealth because nobody wants it anymore, you become an irrelevant nation economically. And I've got a feeling that by influencing sport in particular, which is obviously one of the biggest growing media factors in society now, specifically in the West, for likes of football, boxing, mixed martial arts, the reason why they're going to dip their toes into that is so they have new revenue streams as a country. Otherwise, because they very much pride themselves on giving the best environments and societies for their populations. Whereas in the UK and in America, it's no, we're going to tax you. We're going to try and make your actual existence here not that good. We're going to try and take everything we can from you as a government so that we can then give back in certain areas that suit us politically. Normally war, which is why you get these $10 billion budgets for arms race and stuff in the UK. But there's only a $2 billion budget for council tax bins or something. Which one of those two impacts the people more? Well, obviously the bins in everyday life versus a bloody war in a desert, like ridiculous. So my belief is that they're creating a very, very long-term strategy as to keep their, not just their culture alive, but to keep their economies alive. That's my thinking. I think it makes sense. I'm not saying it's right, but it's definitely my most rational observation of the whole process. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the predicament. The dying of fossil fuels means they've got to move. If the cheese moves, you've got to move with it, so to speak.
Speaking of bins, West Oxfordshire District Council, fucking hurry up with my recycling bin, man. It's been 2 months.
What? 2 months?
I didn't have one.
Oh, right. I was going to say.
I didn't realise I was just using my mum's the whole time. I thought it was mine. It's not. It's my mum's.
How did you not realise? There would have been stuff in there that you haven't put in it.
She uses the boxes.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Fucking hurry up. Right. But no, but with the... I think it's a fine line to walk, isn't it? Because we saw a lot of this a few years ago from China with like the Chinese Super League football. Is they were paying, at the time, ungodly amounts of money to mediocre players.
Yeah.
But that had a social influence in a particular country. Normally the Premier League. They did take a lot of players from the Premier League. Yeah. But the outcome on the end of it was not what they expected. They expected them to sort of move into one of the bigger leagues, in terms of standing. They would position themselves to be a more respected league. Yeah. And it never happened. No. They, the footballing world saw them for what they were, which was a bad league with a lot of money. Mm. And I get the feeling that that's what's happening in Saudi Arabia to an extent. Mm. Because you look at some of the viewing figures in terms of fans in the stadium, they're fucking abysmal. Yeah. The fact that they can't sell out a stadium to watch Cristiano Ronaldo play.
It's nuts.
If you did that anywhere in Europe, it would sell out immediately. Even at 40, 41, whatever he is now, he is that famous that, it would fill the stadium.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that we're sort of seeing the beginnings of what happened in China happen in Saudi Arabia in terms of the Footballing League, which makes me wonder if that's why they're moving a lot of their spending offshore, and investing it in other countries as opposed to trying to build up theirs internally. They build up the standing of their country and the sort of the view of their country by influencing other countries, by buying stakes in newspapers and things like that, and then subtly introducing, more and more. I'm not saying propaganda, but more and more social acceptance of the cultural difference that the West has had a problem with that collection of countries for a very long time. It just makes me wonder.
I think specifically for the newspapers, although, like you say, I don't read newspapers. I never bought one. My dad still reads them every day. He obviously being 76 years of age, he prefers that media format. He also is looking at Google News every fucking day. I don't know why he spends the £2 on the paper, if I'm honest, but it's just habit, I think. His dad read a paper every morning. He reads a paper every morning. It's just a process. But I think specifically the reason for the 15% restriction, if it's about shares, for those of you that don't know, you don't get voting rights unless you have 25% of shares or more. So offering 15% means they don't get a voice on the board. They don't get a voice in terms of the overall influence, but they will have a say. And obviously, the newspaper media companies that have sold the 15%, whoever's at the top of that tree, they're getting a payday. They're getting a rather handsome payday. Sheikh Mansour offers £600 million for that 15%. The valuation is way off. Like, they're not generating that level of revenue to justify that valuation over a 10-year period, but they are over a 50-year period, let's say. And I think that the benefit of having the newspapers is that politically, that still drives a lot of decisions in our legal system. So even if it's not being used by the general public so much, the politicians and the people in powerful positions, they do still consume those sort of pieces of media. And I think that it will have an influence politically over here.
Yeah, I think that they've been very clever with the one they're targeting, which is the Telegraph, which I would say is one of the more not prestigious so much, but one of the less obviously biased, let's say.
Yeah.
I would say that the Telegraph does tend to is sort of centre right. I would say it is a slightly right wing paper, but it's not. You've got the Guardian on the left, and you've got the Sun and the Mirror and Daily Mail on that on the right. So I think they've been very clever because if they were to buy shares in the Sun or the Guardian, you've alienated half the people in the country anyway, because half of them statistically won't agree with the views. Yeah. So yeah, I think that strategically they've been quite clever.
Very, very clever. I mean, all of these purchasing decisions and these investment decisions are made by very, very bright people.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they're just spending their money willy nilly, no. But it's I think they which sort of is proving what you said. They know what they're doing, and they're. I imagine that I would be surprised if what I said doesn't happen. Where you start seing more
pro.
Not pro. I'm not saying pro. I'm not saying they're going to try and implement their culture on us. No. At the end of the day, it's a 15% stake in one newspaper. Yeah. So, but I think just getting it into the social conversation will soften the overall view of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because their culture, is their culture, but it is a very alien concept to liberal Western countries like the US and the UK. Well, liberal in comparison to them, I mean. Yeah. Because a lot of the cultural values of places like Saudi Arabia and Qatar would not fly over here.
No.
You would never ever be able to implement it.
I don't know.
No, you wouldn't.
Why are there towns now that are governed by Sharia law in the UK? There literally are. It's been Bradford, for example, is now under Sharia law in terms of a town. You're allowed to have those religious happenings in that town and not be prosecuted under UK law. It's true.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it was governmental.
Yeah, no, not well. I don't know what the exact system was.
Socially accepted and government backed are two very different things.
Oh, for sure. But what I'm saying is the level of influence now in that specific town is now basically governed in Sharia law. Genuinely. I know, obviously, I'm not saying that you get two white British Westerners doing the same thing and it'd be okay, but within the cultural situation there's never a repercussion. There hasn't been. And yet there have been some of the more, like the things that you're voicing that are, say, the West are not so privy to or okay with. There's been some of those kind of negatives, in inverted commas, for our culture that have been happening there amongst that cultural group that nothing's happening about it legally.
Yeah, I don't know I haven't read whatever you were obviously referring to, but I don't know that it would be Sharia law that it's because that tends to be violent, and then if it was that, it would be prosecuted because it would. I think it would be if there was evidence. Yeah. Provable beyond reasonable doubt, all that bollocks evidence. Yeah. Irrespective of the culture, you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
And not I know it's not technically breaking the law within the culture, but
it's in this country.
Exactly. And I don't think it would ever be socially accepted. I don't think it would be. It's too alien. And I think you see in that because there is a higher concentration of Islamic people within that population, isn't there? Just naturally there is. And so I could see why some of the cultural values would seem more prevalent there. But again, I would be amazed if it ever became standardized, if you know what I mean. I don't think it wouldn't. It's the values of this country are very conservative with a small c. They don't tend to change, and if they do, it's very, very slowly. Yeah. I mean, it's tricky, but it's I wouldn't say it's worrying as such, but it's just a bit odd. Like, you'd think that there would be more socially relevant things that they could put their money into, but
yeah, of course. One of the interesting points on the kind of influence that it's had, I do watch a lot of boxing, and I'm so bad with names, but what do they call him? Oh God, His Highness? No,
His Excellency.
His Excellency. Thank you. All of these mega powerful egomaniacs in the West, like Eddie Hearn, bloody Conor McGregor, and then any other major boxing person or sport personality you can think of, they all refer to him as His Excellency, and they just praise the living hell out of him. There's never been a negative word said about him within that format. Never. Why? Why and how?
Money talks.
Money does fucking talk, and that's kind of my point. You've got that in boxing, which I've never seen before. I've never seen people with the level of status here in this country go to a country where they are a nothing. They are literally a nothing. They don't exist, really. And all of a sudden, to watch them bow down to an individual that, okay, is part of their monarchy, but quite frankly, for me, it's another human being. I'm not fucking monkeys, what your status is. You were born somewhere. Congratulations. You've got this right to, or access to power. But fundamentally, why am I going to communicate differently to you? You are no better. You are just another human being. And you've got more money. Congratulations.
Well, this actually brings up a point. It's a bit of a contentious opinion that I hold, but when you look at, if you were to go to, say, China or Japan or India or places like that where there is a bit of an alien culture compared to what Westerners are used to, when you go there, you are explicitly told, here's what you can and can't do. There's cultural faux pas that you are warned against when you go there, because the culture is not expected to bend to your preferences.
Of course.
Whereas in the West, you see a lot more immediate acceptance to outside cultures. People who tend to immigrate to the UK and the US aren't as expected to follow the cultural norms of the country.
Yeah.
They tend to be a lot more accepted, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it's just a weird juxtaposition where, if you wanted to, the amount, I'll just take this as an example, the amount of, say, mosques that are built here. It's not, the UK is a Christian country. It's a small percentage that are Muslim. Yeah. But if you were to do that, and you were to go to Saudi Arabia, let's say, and try and build a Christian church, this is the reaction. Do you see what I mean? It's a bit of a weird sort of juxtaposition you get where certain people or certain countries hold their cultural standards to a much higher
level of importance.
Exactly, than some others. But it's weird how that's just normal now. Do you know what I mean? People feel that they can come to the US or the UK and carry on doing what they were doing anyway. But if it was the other way round, Westerners tend to bend their social norms to the wants of the country, which is, I think it's a bit weird.
I think the main reason for the UK in that circumstance, I can't speak on the US, but for the UK, because we had such a powerful grip, basically, in terms of how many countries we invaded, I think that naturally, because they're part of the Commonwealth, we say that they get free access to the UK as a country. But to do so and to make that work in modern day times, i.e. the last 100 years, you've got to have acceptance to allow that culture to thrive here. Otherwise, you're saying that you've got free access, we still own you, we still are the people that are in charge of your country, but you can come here whenever you like, not a problem, you can live here, no dramas. However, obviously, you're going to want to enjoy your life here. We're not going to tell you to become Christian. We're not going to try and bend your religious beliefs, which we don't.
They did do that.
Originally when we conquered, correct. But what I'm saying is the last 100 years, much less so, where it's been trying to change them, other than Africa, we definitely tried to push the Christian mentality over there massively. In fact, my friend's granddad was an accountant in, where the bloody hell was he? Zimbabwe. And he said it was
sod.
Yeah, he said it was crazy. He was like a king out there. And yeah, but basically he was given slaves. He said it was one of the most surreal things he's ever experienced. He wouldn't want it again, but that was his life in that moment. It was just the cultural situation. It was like, right, these are the people that will do whatever you want them to do. They got driven around everywhere. But yeah, I think that's the reason for the UK malleability, is in we're much more malleable towards alternative cultures. And also, if you looked at the two populations, Saudi Arabia, United Kingdom, the amount of cultural diversity here versus there, chalk and cheese. Like, there's so few Westerners there living there out of choice compared to the amount of Middle Easterners, Far East people living here in the UK and in China and in America.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason. You even if you have your own cultures here, when you try and expand your societies by introducing more cultures and more people, because talent comes in, a lot of it is because a lot of our medical, the NHS, a lot of the employees are foreign nationals. And it's because we need their labour. That's part of the reason. And then what you're going to do, make them move country, pay them 30 grand a year, and then go, actually, but you can't pray to your God. You can't do what you'd like to do, to live your life. And we're kind of more, we'd rather have inclusivity rather than it being our way.
Yeah, and I do like that about this country, because having multiculturalism like that does breed a more forgiving social norm. You know what I mean? If you hold a very single-minded view in this country, you're seen as a bigot.
Yeah.
If you hold a single-minded view in certain other countries, that's the social norm. And I think it is a better way of doing it.
I believe.
I think there is a limit. I think there is. Of course, there is. If what you're trying to implement is detrimental to people who are already here and already have an established, life and family and everything here, and what you're trying to implement would affect that, fuck off, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, in terms of acceptance of letting people do whatever they want to do within the law, then fine. I think that's a good way. That's a good way to run a country, because it just means that you have a more diverse
Society.
general outlook. Yeah, in society, it's good.
You mentioned one thing about if you go to China, if you go to the Middle East, if you go to Japan, that they kind of give you a set of rules when you go in. They definitely don't. I've been there.
Well, sorry, I don't mean literally you're handed a list of things, but there's certain things that if you do it, everyone will go,
What the fuck are you doing?
what are you doing?
For sure.
Like that's sort of what I mean. Is whereas if that happened here, I don't think that would happen. I don't think you would get. Do you know what I mean? Though, it would be less. There wouldn't be. There might be a little tap on the shoulder. Listen, right?
Shouldn't do that. It's interesting because I went. This is a completely almost slightly mute point because it's not exactly to do with the cultural aspect. But I went for a run in Guangzhou, around the city. Mate, everyone was staring at me like, what the fuck is this dude doing? Why is he exercising freely? Like,
who's he running from?
Yeah. I was like, I'm just having a jog. I'm not doing it. But everybody stared. I mean, granted, I'm a 6-foot white man in fucking Guangzhou.
Yeah,
so
you're
it's
not in a touristy area, are you?
not wildly, no. So I think that was obviously part of the reason. But I think I never saw another person run. Not one person in 3 weeks, which I thought was just strange. Here, you see it all the time. So that was a bit of a, I guess, a kind of nod to what you're saying, that culturally, if it is out the norm, you kind of look that weird and you're kind of judged partly. But nobody put pressure on me to stop doing it. It was just people were just confused. Like,
No. I think sort of what I mean with the pressure is if you went there and you went for a run and on your run told everyone, why aren't you running? You should be running.
Yeah. I want to get fucking battered. I want to get arrested pretty quick. Yeah.
That's sort of what I mean, is trying to implement something. It's a lot harder in certain other cultures. But
true. It's an interesting story.
It is.
Let's see what happens with their 15% of newspapers, eh?
Indeed.
Final article.
Indeed. A bit of probably the most contentious, I would say. I have very strong views on this, but I'll get the button ready, don't worry. Assisted dying law is unworkable, unaffordable and naive, says partnership of UK's leading social care groups. The Terminally Ill Adults Bill returns to the House of Commons on Friday, which is the 16th of May, if you're watching this at some other time. But a group of leading social care organisations has raised concerns over the proposed change to the law, flagging worries about coercion. The bill is the bill. It will be what it will be. But
they need to read the full article.
Yeah, read the full thing. But
you have to.
This was more just to bring up the
point. Yeah.
What do we think of it type thing.
Yeah.
Because what are your views on assisted dying? You can't say the S word.
No, this is genuinely a topic that I grew up around, where I think that this law, had it been passed and had it been okay, one of my grandparents would have had assisted death for sure. My grandma had 127 strokes in 2.5 years. And I watched that woman go from a very, not healthy, but a functioning elderly woman to becoming literally the definition of a vegetable. And to see the deterioration, and then what became dementia, then became this problem, then became that problem. And watching the mind die as 11 years old or something, 10 years old, watching the mind die and the body go with it until eventually this individual is sat there. They can't communicate. They don't recognise you. You're not a family member to them. I'm not saying that they have to recognise you to have value, but I know that her life had zero value for at least 12 months. And it cost my family, which we had no money, no income really. Mum was earning £12,000 a year. Somehow she made that work to raise myself and my brother. And I think the bulk of the money that allowed us to have a relatively comfortable life as kids was because my granddad died prior to that, and my mum managed to sell his house. Without that, what happened was we ate into every penny that was within my nan's assets, which was just one flat. There was no money left. It all got chewed up by the care system. £4,000, I think it was $4,500 a month, was to have her in this care home. And she was treated like shit in there. It was horrible. But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, they are right to raise the point of coercion because there are family members, and I've seen it and heard it from certain people. They go, I can't wait for him to die. Like, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're mentally still there. But because they're now in a care home and it's draining their inheritance, they think of themselves. They go, well, I just get it over and done with. I want the money. And that's disgusting. That makes my blood boil. But I don't think that's the majority. And I think that by having the law passed, it just puts some sort of caveats in there and protection points that prevent the coercion aspects from happening. I think it's a really positive law. The conundrum is this: economically, if my nan's estate was being bled dry that kept the economy propped up for 2, 3, 4 individuals within the care home, paid their salaries, paid some of the bills, if you take that away, how does the care home survive? And then how do you have palliative care? Because if there's no income to it, because people are just being clocked off prior to their time, then how do you keep the economical aspect going? It's quite disgusting, in my opinion, that I've even got to mention that money is an important factor as to whether someone should be living or not. That shouldn't be a part of the conversation. It should be, what standard of life do they have? Are they happy? Are they living? Or are they just alive? And in my opinion, there's a huge difference. You can be alive but without living, for sure. And having seen it firsthand, I can safely say, and my mum said it as well, she wouldn't want to go into a care home. If she ever got dementia or Alzheimer's, she wants to call it a day. And I get it. I'd be in the same boat.
Yeah, me too.
If I'm no longer myself, although I wouldn't know it, I don't want that. Now I'm conscious and I can tell you that. I want to have that as my opinion. I want you to know it, and I want you to treat me as I request. And if that's for me to be put out of my misery at some point, I deserve that choice. Who are you, Mr. Policeman or whatever, to tell me I can't do that? That's ridiculous. It's my life. I'm an animal. I can choose what I want to do with it. But so that's my stance on it. I think that there's so many contextual examples here that would have to be talked about, and we don't have the time. But fundamentally, the choice should be the individual's. And I think the fact that we've got a law that prevents it is partially because of capitalism, because it's without it, then you've got people that can't get paid their wages. But is that the reason to do it? I don't know. What's your thoughts on it, Tay? Where's your stance?
With assisted dying specifically, I think it's a fundamental right, because the hypocrisy of the government, or the laws, I should say, is ridiculous when it comes to this. Suicide is legal, technically speaking. I can't say that word.
No. Beep.
Self-dying is legal.
Yeah.
Assisted isn't. So what you're inadvertently saying there is that someone who doesn't have the ability to do it themselves doesn't deserve to die on their own terms.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. If it gets to the point where that is the only option, and I'm talking about terminal illness and things like that, where the end is bleak. You know what I mean? It's not a nice way to go. Surely that person, whether it's from the government view or just as a human being, has deserved the right to die with dignity.
Yeah. And
not breathing through a tube and, fading away for 6 months in abject pain.
That's crazy.
It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. You should be able to do whatever you want. If that's the only view that you can take, and that's the only thing you think will help and solve the issue, if there is no other way out, that is an unbelievably enormous decision to come to.
Yeah.
That active, and having, and I'm talking about people who are, mentally stable, and this is a well thought out process. I'm not.
Yeah.
I leave the other stuff. It's important, but I'll leave it to the side for now. It's to get to that point should say something and should have inherent value, that someone is coming to you in confidence and saying, I don't want to be here anymore because of XYZ reasons. And I think that it should be a right. I'm sorry, it should. It should be as accessible as healthcare.
Yeah.
If if the parameters are correct, and this is important. So I take the example from Dignitas, which is the place in Switzerland, which is one of the only places where it is actually legal. And you do psychological assessments. I think they interview the family as well to make sure that there's no coercion. The method is somewhat chosen by you. The setting, the important thing is the activation of the agent itself is done by the person.
Yeah.
So there is no way that they can be coerced, or if they were, they've got to get through 6 or 7 levels of security to ensure that doesn't happen. The likelihood of that happening is very, very low. So the fact that that's the only problem they have with it is a null and void excuse to me. If you put the right things in place, it's almost like they're saying they can't be bothered to work out the finer details, therefore we're not going to do it.
Basically.
And it's just wrong to me, because the care system in this country is broken. I will never, ever put a member of my family that I have influence over into a care home. They are the most unregulated. I'm not saying all of them. I know that there are very many good ones.
Yeah.
The problem is there's also very many shit ones.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my family has been subjected to 2 shit ones. And watching how fast... So I'll give an example that I don't think I've ever spoken about this out of my own head. But my great-grandmother, she had a condition called clear cell bladder cancer. It's a terminal cancer. There's no treatment for it. So we knew she was going to die. She was given 3 months. She lived a year, happy as can be. You know, no clear signs of deterioration beyond the odd little thing, but she was still what seemed to be herself and healthy. My mum, everyone bar me in the family went on holiday. So we gave my nan the choice, because she lived in the flat I now live in. So she lived in our back garden, effectively. There's a little flat at the end of the garden, because she still wanted some level of independence, but she needed help, effectively, just because she was in her mid-90s, more than when it was the cancer. The cancer came later. And we gave her the choice. We said, do you want to stay at home? Because she used to have carers that came and went. You can stay at home. We'll up the carers. You know, you'll get a visit every hour, every 2 hours, just to make sure everything's fine. I didn't live in the house at the time. I lived elsewhere. But I was there. I was available. I would have gone over any time she needed. Yeah. She said she wanted to go into a home. So we were like, okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, you know, we're not going to stop you doing that. So we found what we thought was a really, really nice one. The setting was lovely. The house looked, well, not house, but the building looked lovely. The facilities were great. The rooms looked really nice. We met the people. They seemed really nice. She went in there on the second day. I went to visit her every single day she was in there. And the second day, she said, I'm ever so miserable, Taylor. And this is one of those generation where you never admit that.
Yeah.
She would never say that she was upset, ever. And that was devastating to me, because I was 17 at the time. I'd only just started driving, but I didn't have any rights to do anything. I could have, you know, if I was 18, I could have taken her home. Yeah. And I wasn't. And she died in there within a week.
Within a week?
She was there less than a week and she died. And she went in there happy as Larry. It could be a complete coincidence, but the way that her mental state, and I mean in terms of happiness, deteriorated within a 1 week period from being in that fucking building, killed her.
That's mad, isn't it?
And so I've said, no one in my family is allowed into a care home, because that also happened with my other great-grandmother. I won't go into that story. It's a lot longer and drawn out. But the fact that she was this woman who had lived through the Second World War and came out smiling was miserable in that place.
Says a lot.
I wanted to sue them into the fucking ground, but I didn't have any proof. No. She went in there. I went in there every single day. It was 6 days on the bounce, and she died on the 7th, I think, something like that. Every single day she was cold. Every single day she said, "I'm ever so cold, Teddy." She couldn't really walk, so she couldn't go and get it herself. And obviously, they're not visiting regularly enough to accommodate that. Yeah. So every day I'd be going and asking, "She's cold again. Can you please please check on her and make sure she's not.
Yeah, cool.
This is a very terminally ill woman. Look after her for fuck's sake. Like, I got really irate with them.
Yeah, understandably.
You know, she said, oh, I haven't had anything to drink this afternoon.
All afternoon?
What? Fucking right. Back to reception. Fucking get a jug of water in there. She's got a side table. She can do it herself. Just make sure it's there. And all this shit. And I
poor care.
And I'm just like, but I would have given anything to be able to take her home. Do you know what I mean?
You couldn't do it.
I was driving at the time, so I could have got her home.
Yeah.
But I wasn't legally allowed to. And my mum, because she wasn't there in person,
couldn't give you
couldn't
the
do it.
access. That's, yeah. It's terrible.
So my view on care homes is very, very strong. I understand that it's anecdotal. I understand that it's personal.
Yeah, of course.
But when you've had 2 experiences of them and both of them have been shit, it sort of tars the thing. But the problem is people dying. It brings out the worst in people, doesn't it? I'm sure you've experienced it.
Oh, for sure.
I've definitely experienced it because when my other great grandmother died, again, she was ill for quite a long time. She was okay. She died a lot more peacefully than what my other nan did, which is why I'm not so angry about it.
Yeah.
The level of care was terrible in that place, but still, it was a different care home. So, and when she died, my nan's got 7 siblings, so there's 8 of them in total. It's that sort of generation, isn't it, where everyone had 48 kids. And my nan was the one that would go in and check on her weekly. You know, considering this is a care home that's 30 miles away from their house, there are members of that family who live a lot closer. And my nan would be the one to go in, check with her, spend time with her, make sure she's getting this and that done, make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
No one else bothered really. Maybe special occasions and the odd visit. As soon as it looked like she was on the way out, suddenly they all got a little bit more involved. And a member of my family that I'm not even gonna reveal gender because if anyone sees it, then I don't think I'm supposed to know this. Basically coerced my great-grandmother into signing over power of attorney.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And effectively, she passed away in hospital. And within 24, 48 hours, everything of value in her room was gone.
Bloody hell.
They all went in. They all got there before my nan because my nan was sorting out the fucking funeral.
Yeah.
Actually gave a shit and was making sure because my great-grandmother was very, very Catholic. Which, if you've ever been to a Catholic funeral, honestly, the Da Vinci Code is less complicated. But, yeah, and everything of value was gone. Anyway, the point of the story is, we then went in there, and what this hurt me, and I haven't spoken to any other member of the family since. There's my nan and one other one, which helped us.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I've never spoken to again. And I was looking through my nan's drawer, just at things, and I couldn't believe it was there. It was her Bible. Now, this is a heavily Catholic woman, and I looked through it, and there was from this Bible's from like the 40s or the 50s, and it's got notes and pictures and handwritten little reminders for things, and like you couldn't imagine a more sentimental piece of, you know, a more sentimental item.
Yeah.
That pertains to the remembrance of someone. Yeah. It's, you know, it's got. She used to go to Lord's a lot, which is that, you know, that no, not the cricket twat. The religious place.
Never heard of that. Oh, France.
Yeah, where the statue of Mary is and stuff.
Yeah, sorry.
She used to go there all the time, and there's pictures of cricket.
Sorry.
Not quite, yeah. Sorry. The Catholic pilgrimage to the Oval.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, God. I genuinely wasn't joking.
No, I know you weren't.
It's the only Lords I could think of. Fucking cricket. Sorry, Tay. Serious point. Fuck am I doing? Oh, ignore me. Knobhead.
Yeah, no, it just really showed their character.
What happened with that Bible? Sorry, man. What happened with it? The one with the annotations?
I took it.
Oh, you took it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
okay.
still, that's what I mean. It was still
Yeah.
in the room after it had been picked through. And what shocked me was that it was still there. That was one of the most important things to that woman.
And nobody wanted it.
And no one wanted it because it holds no monetary value
Fucking
other than it being a Bible from the 1950s. But that doesn't, it's not valuable monetarily.
Yeah.
It's incredibly valuable sentimentarily.
Yeah.
Sentimentally, that's the word. So yeah, that just showed the sort of the character and the lack of care that place was gone through. All the gold was gone, all the jewellery was gone. The telly was gone. Any
fucking telly.
Yeah, this is how bad it was. But
Don't ever let me meet these people.
all her little, knickknacks that were on her shelf since she was, she lived in India for a long time, so there was a lot of stuff from when she lived there and stuff like that, and they didn't care.
No.
It just showed how little care they actually had for their mum,
Horrible.
which is, disgusting.
Reminds me of Derek.
Yes,
Ricky Gervais
it was
show.
amazingly similar.
Yeah, yeah.
If I'd have seen them, it would have been basically the same.
Honestly, when I watched that episode, although it's a comedy because I've seen the other side of it, and I've only got a very small family, but my nan was the glue to it. Seeing that, and same with my uncle, I guess. My uncle had good care though in one of the care homes, but
That's what I'm saying. It's not all of them.
yeah,
It's
you're
it
right.
just so happens that the two that my family have experienced have been terrible.
Of course. But there's also a lot of negatives of care homes aren't anything to do with the care home's control. Quite often the other patients or clients can cause a horrible atmosphere for your loved one. But again, you can't really point and blame it as someone with bloody dementia or Alzheimer's because they just start acting like somebody they're not. It happens. Deterioration is a wicked thing, and I don't mean wicked as in good, I mean wicked as in horrible. You see it and you're just like, you can't comprehend it. Even though you're watching it, you don't understand it. There's no way of understanding it. So it's just pain. You just witness pain, and all you feel is pain. It's but it's part of life. And it's like there are lots of people that go through a hell of a lot worse. I'm not trying to downplay a bad care home situation because that's your loved one. And that subjectively is the most important thing to you. So, yeah, it's a tricky... I don't know with regards to the article. I want to say that it should be allowed. It should be a law because it's a choice. The Louis Theroux documentary on that, have you seen that? To do with assisted...
Where he follows someone through the Dignitas process.
A few different people.
I think vaguely remember, because I can picture the room that they sit in, so I've seen something about it. Whether it's the Louis Theroux thing, I don't know. But
a brilliant example of seeing situations where subjectively you're looking at an individual that's completely corpus mentis. They are there. They're not, dwindling away. But because they got diagnosed with an illness that apparently gives you a 1-year life expectancy.
Was it motor neuron disease?
I believe so.
Yeah,
But
I think I have seen it.
The lady was like, they interviewed her over a 6-month period. I honestly didn't see a single piece of degradation, but there was no, she was just there, the same normal person as the beginning of the interview. But her fear of degrading made her make the choice, I want to be in control of my end point. Fair play. It's her choice. But for the family. Oof.
Have you ever watched House?
Yeah, of course.
The
I love
show.
it. Yeah,
So have you watched all of it?
No, not every single episode.
So there's what's her name? It's Olivia Wilde is the actress. Her name's Remy Hadley in it. One of the doctors in one of the later seasons, and she's got Huntington's.
Right. Okay.
And it's really tricky to watch that for me because it's similar to my granddad, one of my granddads who had dementia. And she sees someone with much more advanced Huntington's, completely lost control of their body. They're completely mentally sound, but losing control of her body. And it's a really, really touching moment because she realizes that's going to be me.
Yeah.
And if that was me in that position, I would want to be gone before that happened.
Yeah.
Which is why I can see why you may not see a difference, but the smallest difference, you're going to notice it for a start, and equally you're going to know that what it entails further down the line. I'd want to go before any of that happened personally.
Yeah.
I don't want people's last memory of me to be
a dribbling mess, or
Which,
just
well,
just
yeah,
not even there.
which unfortunately it is for me with my
Yes,
grandparents.
of course.
Because the last time I saw them, it's not how I choose to remember them, but it is my last memory of them.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's tricky.
Yeah.
It really is.
I think I'm intrigued to see what happens in this House of Commons ruling, because there's been a lot of shifts in laws over the last 15 years to be more leftist, I guess, and to be more considerate of other choices and subjectivity. So I think there's a high chance that actually this will go through, and I think that a lot of families are going to get the peace and the respite that they probably deserve, that currently they don't have the opportunity to get.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed for those that need it, and for those, again, very contextual, but for those that are in that specific contextual situation, give them a fucking break.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Be a human.
We're
That's
not
what
saying it should be as easy as breathing in and out, but I think if the parameters are correct, why the fuck shouldn't you have the right?
Indeed. Well, that's a bloody chirpy podcast, isn't it? There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm going to go and curl up in a corner and cry. And
So, I don't mean to laugh. It's just, yeah. It's one of those, everyone goes through painful moments in life, and it's just understanding that is life.
character
And,
building.
Fuck me, yeah, and it just.
I just want to say, though, life, my character is more than built. You can stop now.
I'll try not to mention cricket ever again. I'm so sorry. That's got to be one of the fucking worst things I've ever come out with. It's got to be up there. Oh, what, cricket? Fucking twat.
Yes, Dan, cricket. My heavily Catholic grandmother
Yeah.
loved a bit of cricket.
6. Oh, God.
Favourite player was Mary Magdalene. Anyway,
Of course.
bye.
Bye-bye.